Matt, if you would want to come up and tell us about this resolution that was sent in the call letter.
Sure. It's Tanya. We can put it on the screen. But we don't need it.
I think everyone should have a copy.
Anybody not have a copy of the resolution with our header on it? I think we have some extras still maybe. Okay, so this is a resolution that passed in LD 25 and is going in some more districts here shortly. The call letter that went out had pretty much the same text. We did make some grammar changes today after discussing with some of the PCs. One of the grammar changes said that we would include Governor Brewer and 15 Republican state legislators. Before it just said 15 Republican state legislators. We took the words "they" out of the first "whereas" section. It said they implemented passage of Medicaid, they implemented government, and they. A little bit redundant, so we took that out. And really that's it. There are actually 14 legislators instead of 15, so we will need to probably amend that. But those are the only changes. Kevin Jones, did you want me to go any more detail?
Are there any
questions about these revised changes?
So what did you put in place of they?
I changed the verbiage in some cases to make the tense proper.
Any other questions about the proposed amendment to the resolution? Okay.
So you are going to fix the 15, make it 14?
I believe that'd have to be an amendment, but yes.
Yeah, actually this whole revision is an amendment to the call letter itself, so we can make that at the same
This
time.
one in front of us says 15, but there's no 14 legislation.
Correct. So a friendly amendment to not have to be changing the 15 to 14 right now. Okay. So we'll go ahead. Are there any other questions about this, or any comments for or against the revised proposal? Gary?
Well, the spiel, folks, why are we wasting time on things that further tear our party apart, that sink us deeper and deeper into a party that cannot win an election? We're focusing on things that really, I'm as much against Obamacare as anybody in this room, okay? And you know what? I'm really against the way the governor did what she did. But to censure legislators or something like that, that's not the business of this group. And I had
well, it isn't. It's true.
We'll have Mr. Lewis speak, and then we'll give other people a chance to.
Why don't we do what's right for our people, for our party, for this country, instead of continue to fight over things like this that really continue to divide us? Look, folks, we're not all going to agree on every single issue. We're not all going to agree on how we stand for every single issue. I mean, we heard a question tonight about drugs. I know some in this room really would love to have total freedom of drug use, whatever they want. Okay? There's those that are violently against it for religious and personal reasons. Okay? We don't agree on it. But you don't hear us talking about that like we do about Obamacare, about immigration. Okay? We can disagree on a lot of things. But instead of censuring our own, eating our own, cannibalizing our party, why don't we focus on what we can agree on and continue to build our party into the party that it can be and work towards the things that really matter most in our country?
Thank you. Okay, so that's one argument. Now this is against the amendment to the resolution right now. Are there any arguments for the amendment to the resolution? Mr. Pinkman?
I think that the Republican Party is secondary to the Constitution, and that's all we're trying to do, is to retain some kind of a semblance of constitutionality in a world where socialist Republicans are trying to slip it out from under us. And there need be no fighting any more than there has been. And we just simply have to stand for our principles and smile and say, how are you? And that was a good opposition you gave. Let's go have a cup of coffee. And we can disagree without being disagreeable.
Okay. Are there any other arguments for or against?
Are you talking about the proposition or the amendment?
This is for the amendment.
Which is just to change it from 15 to 14.
Well, plus make all of the changes that Matt mentioned. Because the original call letter that was sent out 10 days ago had different words. So, if there are no other arguments, I'll call the question. Actually, I guess, do we have an official second to that amendment? Okay, we have a second here. All in favor of amending the resolution as Matt described, as well as changing the number from 15 to 14, and as if you're a PC with an LD 26, please stand. Okay, I think we had about 30 something there. We had 37 PCs sign in.
I didn't sign in. All right.
Okay, those opposing the amendment to this resolution, please stand. Okay, also everyone else is abstaining. So the motion to amend this resolution passes. Now, is there any discussion on this resolution as a whole? Mr. Holman?
With some grave risk of joining Mr. Lewis, given the reaction of the crowd, I would tell you that the Obama administration has done something that is as brilliant as I can think of to help divide us. The Medicaid expansion under access.
Use the mic.
Sure. Well, I can speak louder if that helps. How about that?
There's a mic.
Okay. The Medicaid expansion that the governor proposed, I, like Mr. Lewis, absolutely oppose Obamacare. We are about to see the most powerful medical system ever devised by humankind destroyed, so that we end up with our medical care delivered by the likes of the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and the Post Office. Let's throw in the IRS for that matter. But the reason the Obama administration has been so brilliant about what they've done is they have Republicans now fighting one another. Our Speaker, Doug, where are you? I thought you did a pretty go. I thought you did a really marvelous job. Can I add two things, by the way? I know this is off the point, but the two things I'd ask you to do in doing petitions. Two things. Don't set them down in a room and walk away from them, or don't put them on a clipboard and pass them around. You are stating on the back of that petition that you watched the person fill it out, and you will get videotaped by somebody in the opposition if you pass that petition around on a clipboard. The second thing, you're trying to be helpful, and you've only got one blank petition left. So you go to Kinko's and you Xerox it. Many of those machines are set to 98%, so that whatever's being Xeroxed fully appears on the piece of paper. In addition to everything else he told you, you have to have a certain point size on those petitions, whether it's a candidate petition, initiative petition, referendum petition. When you go to Kinko's and you Xerox it, and it goes to 98%, you will get that petition thrown out because the point size, I think it's 10-point type, will get reduced just enough, and I've seen this happen, having defended the Republican Party and trying to keep our people on the ballot and throw Democrats off the ballot. I've won lots of these arguments. That's a great thing. So don't try to be helpful and make that mistake. Okay, those are my two things. Sorry for going off point, but I think that's important. Here's what the Obama administration's done. Our speaker talked about the fact that the people who are going to get this Medicaid assistance will not be paying taxes. That's right. But if they don't get this Medicaid assistance, they're also not going to be paying their medical bills. That's the problem. This country, despite our efforts to follow Ronald Reagan's advice that we have a safety net. Remember Ronald Reagan talking about that during the '82 era, that we would have a safety net as Republicans with food and shelter and medical care. But what we've allowed to happen is to have our society supply people beyond their abilities to assist themselves. We have destroyed our humanity, and we have created an entire dependent class. But worse, we have created an entire society that gets free medical care if they can't pay for it, whether or not they qualify for access. So not only are they not paying taxes, they're not paying their medical bills. They go to the ER and they get free medical care. You know why? Because our Internal Revenue Code requires hospitals to supply free medical care to everybody who shows up and is not able to pay for it. That's why we're bankrupting our medical system, because somebody thought they could use the tax code to hand out free medical care, and it's destroying us. What happens to unpaid medical bills? They show up in your insurance premiums, and you pay the costs. That's why the Obama administration has so successfully destroying the Republican Party, because either we vote to take a bunch of federal money that none of us wants to take because we know it's phony, it's been printed in Washington, D.C., or we vote to have people not pay their medical bills, and those very people who are doing what I wanted to do, buying their insurance or paying their medical bills, they pay the tab. I'd like us not to be fighting among ourselves, and remember that we never win by losing. We lost in 2008, we lost in 2012, and the man in Washington, D.C. is destroying our nation one day at a time. The fact that he, by his own pen, did something many of us want. He just said he's not going to impose Obamacare until 2015. Funny, when did the President of the United States get the power to abrogate a law that's been passed by Congress and signed by the President? It's amazing. He's violating his own law illegally. No, I'm happy that Obamacare is not going to go in, because now that gives us another shot. But what we've now got is Republicans fighting Republicans. So while I do not like Obamacare, it is an abomination. I cannot vote to censure legislators who were stuck in hell between supporting Medicaid expansion or taxing through increased premiums and higher medical bills for people who pay their bills. I can't do that. I don't want them ever to be in that position again. And we as Republicans can do better to make sure this doesn't happen to us again. Thank you for your time.
Okay, are there any arguments for this? Please stand, state your name and precinct. We'll start here, then we'll go to the other side.
John Perkins, Diablo. I sold health insurance and medical insurance for over 40 years. I changed my party because of government health insurance. I changed from being a liberal Democrat to the Republican Party. They often talk about when you bring up certain things. They talk about when you're trying to improve Social Security and so on, about stepping on the electric rail of politics. That this is going to put you down. But I want to say this, that anyone, and I've done this since 1962, anyone who votes for, in any way, for government health insurance will not get my support. Now, I am never going to support, again, the governor of the state of Arizona. She stepped on that rail, and this is the one thing that I won't do. I will not support her. That doesn't mean that she is the governor. It doesn't mean that I am not going to support the things that she brings out that are favorable to me and the Republican Party. But the first time I worked in an election here, and the first time I was a registered voter here was 4 years ago. I moved from California and became a resident of the state of Arizona. My happiest time was that night when Governor Brewer was elected, but also Harry Mitchell hit the end of the line. And I felt so proud that I went out and supported the Republican Party and worked against Harry Mitchell. And so, I want to say that all these people on the list, they can be in the party. I don't feel like I've got to upset their apple carts or anything else like that. But when it comes to election time, I'm not going to vote for them. And anyone that they endorse is going to have a personal call from me asking him his stand on government health insurance.
We had 5.5 minutes against, we've had just over 3 minutes for. There was a hand over here.
What a voice mic is. I'm 35 years old. I'm just about to hit 35 this December. These legislators, regardless of their party, that represent us. And too many times for being in this party, I've seen this, putting these legislators up on a pedestal. Once you elected, you chose to run. You chose to put the blood, sweat, and tears into your campaign to represent the people. This wasn't about you getting some notoriety or some nobility or getting some kind of name behind you. This was you representing the people. These people turned our backs on us. The whole reason why I joined the party is because I saw what was going on. Many of us here, a lot of us are Ron Paul supporters because we saw his integrity. And a lot of times people say to us, you can't put that on every legislator. They're not allowed like that. That's the craziest thing I ever heard in my life. Ron Paul he set the bar too high for these guys. But you know what? These guys, he voted on principle. And these legislators turned their backs on us. So this notion of saying these legislators were in the wrong position or they were in hell, you know what? They chose to be there.
That's right.
They chose to be there. I didn't tell them to go over there. No one ordered them to go there. I know I was ordered to go in Iraq. I was ordered to cross the berm because I was in the military. I chose, I volunteered. I signed the dotted line. I raised my right hand twice before I shipped and during my re-enlistment. These legislators chose to be there. So let's not put them on a pedestal and knock them back down where they believe where they're supposed to be. And that's what we need to do. Us people need to hold these people accountable. They need to be held accountable. And that Constitution is the only thing that is the common denominator, regardless of the party that you're in. Because they swore an oath to it.
15 seconds.
And that's what we need to remember, that they swore an oath to it. I'm tired of this party politics. I'm tired of it. We need to vote our principles. Thank you.
Okay, we've allowed about 5.5 minutes for and against for arguments for this resolution. This time I'd like to call the question. All those in favor of passing this resolution as been amended previously, please stand. What's your count?
33.
33. That's about right. Okay. right, those opposing this resolution, please stand. Okay. We have 2, and any abstentions? I know we had one of our PCs leave already. Okay, so the resolution as amended passes. On to our next business.